Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we're working on page 4 and 5, and I want to apologize right up front that there's a lot of background noise because my air conditioner sits right outside my craft room window, and it's very, very warm here today. So it's probably going to run the whole time I'm working. Anyway, back to the project. So this is page 4, page 5. These are going to be mirror images of each other. They're going to have a large flap that opens away from the spine and a pocket inside. And I'm going to think about this for just a second, but I'm pretty sure. Okay, I'm going to tell you. So the covers, this is just one 12 by 12 that it's actually the same image, but I used 2 of them. So I cut I used 2 packs of 12 by 12. So I cut one from one pack and one from the other pack. And the reason I did it that way is because these flaps are 6.5 inches. So you can't just cut the 12 by 12 in half. You're gonna wind up with one of them being too short. So the finished panel is 6.5. You start with a 7, score 1/2 inch. When you fold it over, you've got a 6.5 inch panel. Now the reason I wanted to do a 6.5 inch panel is because I want the panel to come down far enough that I can put the magnet on the panel and on the pocket. If you put the magnet behind the mat above the pocket, what happens is once you start to put things in your pocket, the magnets get further and further apart, and it's very hard for it to stay attracted. That's why I always want to target the outside of the pocket and the flap. So that's kind of what I did. Now the other way around that is to make your pocket deeper, and then you can make this a 1/2 inch shorter, and you could take one 12 by 12, split it in half. So it's just what I decided to do because I knew I was going to use 2 packs anyway. And I think this is the only page I'm going to do that on, but we'll come back to that. So again, these are from the 12 by 12. This one right here, I have to think about. This is from the 8 by 8, and it's also the inside of the flap on page 5. These two pieces are from 12 by 12, and this is trimmed off of 12 by 12 as well. So everything is 12 by 12 except for the B side of the flaps, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and set page 5 aside, and we're gonna put page 4 together. So the first thing I'm gonna do is set my designer paper aside, is add the pocket and then the flap, then we'll locate our magnet, and then we'll decorate it. So that is the plan. Okay, let's get my pick tool. Hope everybody's doing well. Oops, looks like I ran out of tape. There we go. If you're new to the channel, you may not have seen this before, but this is what we call our tape tear tool. And honestly, I can't craft without it anymore. It just really helps me tear tape. Some people, and Ginger Ropp is one of the designers that I can think of, can just tug on the tape and it tears straight for her every time. I don't know how she does it. It's magic. She has magic hands. I can't, so I always need a firm straight edge, and that's what I use it for. Okay, so now you want to lay down your pocket page. Make sure your pockets are to the left and right. And then the way this is going to go in is it's not going to go in on the bottom. It's going to go in toward the spine. So it's going to be a side pocket, not a bottom pocket. So there is, if this is page 4, that's my spine, that's the pocket side. So it's going to go along the side that has the spine. Okay, that's in. And this pocket is 3 by 9, 3 by 9. You're going to score 1/2 inch on 3 sides, and I'll show you what it looks like. Somebody asked me about this the other day. So it's going to look like this. So you're going to score on 3 of the 4 sides. You're going to fold it over and add your score tape. And the reason I do that is because when you adhere these, what I call flanges, that means when you put something in the pocket, you have the full width of the pocket. If you glue down these edges, you wind up short. It's not as deep and it's not as wide. So that is why sometimes I choose to do flanges. Now, if I put a pocket in a place where I feel like whatever's in it might slip around a little bit. Sometimes I'll glue it straight on just because then you don't have any space in the pocket is snugger to the page, and it'll sort of hold whatever's in there in place. But because we're going to put a large flap on top of the pocket, this flap is really going to hold everything in that pocket in place. Okay, so I'm going to turn it sideways, and it's going on the opposing edge. I'm just looking to see it looks good. Looking to see that it was really trimmed out to be the same size. I just want to make sure my edges don't extend past the edge of the page. Okay. I am using cream colored cardstock, and it is from Astrobrite, or Nina Astrobrite. And I actually found this at my local Walmart, which they usually have the cream and the black. And it's exactly the same as the black, it's just cream. And one of the reasons I really like this color cream is it matches Graphic 45 tags. So that's kind of nice. It's kind of hard to find that color. But if I wanted to use tags, or if I decide to use tags in this album, their cream colored tags look great with this. Okay, so that's in, and as you can see, or hopefully you can see, this flap overlaps the edge of my pocket quite a bit, and that is a good thing because our magnet is going to go somewhere here and here. It's a little low, so I'm going to move it up a little bit. Now I've got some fat tape, and I like to use that because it softens the edge of the magnet. It doesn't have to be double-sided tape. You could use a little bit of masking tape, anything to cover those sharp edges. The magnets themselves don't have a tapered edge, so they're very, the edges are kind of sharp. Okay. And they won't tear through your paper, but they just are kind of obvious. The more simple the pattern that's laying on top, the more obvious the magnet will be. Okay. Now I'm just going to close this flap, and then we're going to pick up that magnet, and now we know where it is. Okay. Now I wasn't very concerned with magnet placement because I've already trimmed my papers out, and I know I'm not doing any color blocking. It's always a good idea to think about your magnet placement if you think you're going to do any color blocking, because typically your color blocking is going to come across the center of the page, or at least that's the way I design it. So it's something to think about. Don't lay your magnets down until you know what your designer paper is going to look like. Okay, now that's done. I need to back up and tell you the size of this flap. I forgot to mention that. This is 7, and I'm going to double check, 7 by 8. So it's 7 inches across, 7 by 8. And then you're going to score 1/2 inch. So you've got a finished 6.5 inch flap. All right, this goes like this. Okay, I've already inked these. And for those of you that are interested, I'm using, I refilled my glue today, and I think I left my cap off too long because it feels like it dried. I'm using these Powder Puff ink pads in Mahogany. And I've mentioned it before, but I love these Powder Puffs. Sorry, I've got some glue stuck in here. I'm going to get that out before. There we go. Okay, back to it. Anyways, the Powder Puff ink pad is in Mahogany, and I've mentioned it before, but I really like, it is clogged, these Powder Puffs. They're it's very hard to describe. They're not as juicy as your alcohol inks, so they don't smear as much. They're just easier to use. I don't wind up transferring it on me and everywhere else. And when you're using either cream or white cardstock as your base album, it's kind of a concern. You never want to ink your edge and then lay it down too soon, because you might transfer your ink to your page. Or if you drop it on your page, on your cream cardstock, you could, ruin your page depending on where the ink lands. I'm going to go ahead and open this so I can see these 3 sides clearly as I lay this mat down. and I think I mentioned it, it is quite warm here, so I'm sure my glue is going to dry very quickly today, so I can't dilly-dally too much. There's that darn air conditioner. I shouldn't be cussing it because it's hot. We need it. It's very humid here in San Diego in the last week, which is very unusual. We don't usually have humid weather. We usually have dry weather. And we just started, unfortunately, our fire season. And there's some huge fires up north from us. Nothing close to my home, but it's just always sad. Some homes have burned. California is beautiful, but we have some really rugged terrain, and when the fire starts in those forest rugged areas, they can't really get any, can't get the firemen and the equipment up there to put them out. A lot of times they just have to run out of fuel. So I hope this is finding everybody else safe and hopefully fire free. Oh, another exciting news. California just came off the COVID watch list, so that's very exciting to me, especially because my son is a senior in high school, and I'd really like to see him finish his high school academic career actually in a classroom and not at home in front of a computer. So that's good news. Doesn't mean school will start right away, but it just means there's a good chance school will start before his senior year wraps up. And maybe he'll even have a prom and a graduation, which last year the student body was, the seniors didn't get either one of those activities, which is sad. Because it is the end of an era. It's quite a milestone in a young person's life. Okay. Okay, now this piece, as usual, I trim it a little bit larger because my goal is to actually slip it inside the pocket. And I do that for two reasons. One, I like the look of it. You know, from a design perspective, it's just a very neat line. The other reason I like to do it is as you're slipping things into the pocket, it actually helps guide it into the pocket. If you stop your paper short, sometimes whatever you're trying to stick in has to go down past your paper and then into the pocket. So this will help guide things in and help with some of the wear and tear on the pocket. And I just think it makes for a nice look. Now, what I've learned from doing it this way is this leading edge that's going to get tucked inside the pocket, you don't want to put glue on. You want to put glue on this part. That way, if you tuck it into the pocket and you get it too far and you have to back out, you're not going to drag your glue inside the pocket and potentially glue your pocket closed. Now, I've learned that lesson, unfortunately, from gluing a few pockets closed. So I'm going to stop at about 1 inch to the bottom. The other thing is if you don't put in glue on that last inch, it slides into the pocket very, very easily. If you have glue on it, it starts to grab. So now this edge right here is glue free. We're going to tuck it in. I'm going to hold the far edge up. I'm going to tuck this in, get it going, and then I'll slide it over. There we go. Just like that. We're in. I got a little too much glue there. I got to be careful. Keep your hands clean if you're working with cream. Easier said than done, but I think I got a little glue on there. Okay, so that is page 4. So page 5 is going to look just like this. It's going to be a mirror image. And I've got some cut aparts that I'm going to paper back and put inside. But I'm going to call it done for page 4, and I can see I've got some glue on my hands, and I picked up some either ink or dirt or whatever. So I need to wash my hands so I don't mar my cream page when we start to work on page 5. So I'll be back in a few minutes and we'll do page 5. Okay, everyone, I'm back. I had to clean up real quick. I noticed that I was dragging some either ink or something I picked up off my work surface onto my cream cardstock. So I ran off and cleaned up a little bit to make sure I stopped doing that. I'm gonna set all my designer paper aside, And we're gonna do install the interactive components for the page. And there's just two. There's a pocket, and the pocket is 9 inches by 3, and you're gonna score a 1/2 inch on 3 sides to create this, what I call a pocket. And I didn't get tape on all 3 sides, so let's do that real quick. And hopefully everybody's doing well. And I want to thank everybody who's taking time to make comments. It really helps our channel. Of course, we love it if you can shop with us, but we're really only the continental United States and its territories. So if you can't shop with us, one of the ways you can help us is by subscribing, commenting, and liking our channel, which exposes us and puts us up for recommendation to other like-minded crafters. So we really appreciate that. If you could take a minute to like, share, subscribe. And if you are in the United States, take a look at our shop at www.scrapandcreate.com. We really feature Graphic 45, Stamperia, and Ciao Bella papers, which are what I consider sort of the luxury paper brands. I really like all of these paper brands, but they're a little bit hard to come by in brick and mortar. So that's kind of our focus. Okay, so make sure your pockets are left and right. And then this pocket is actually going to get installed on the left-hand side, which is toward your spine. Okay. And it's going to go on the spine side, not across the bottom. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it sideways because I like to be able to see all my edges before I lay it down. Some people like to just lay it, take a little tab of the paper off and then kind of pull it like a zipper. I go ahead and just, I've gotten so used to it, I just take the tape off and just know that when I'm applying it, I apply it from one edge to the other. But it's really what, it's what works for you. The longer you do this, the more confident you get, which is half the battle. Going ahead and pulling the trigger and making a commitment. The other thing is, if you dry fit everything first and make sure that it's the right size for the page, you'll save yourself a lot of headaches. Okay, there we go. All right. There it is. Okay, now let's pull our designer papers in. And I forgot to tell you again, this is 7 by 8. You're gonna score a 1/2 inch, 7 by 8 inches tall, and this is 3 by 9. And you score a 1/2 inch on 3 sides. And it's exactly the same as page 4. So if you're cutting for page 4, just cut 2 of everything. And that's what you'll need. Yeah. Let me double, yeah, okay. So what I'm using right now is a piece that I trimmed off a 12 by 12 sheet. I'm pretty sure. Yes, it is off a 12 by 12 sheet. And the cover, the A side of the flap is from the 12 by 12. This piece is from the 12 by 12, and the B side is from an 8 by 8. Which, I mean, if you guys are doing it exactly the same, you don't have to. Because of the patterns, and oh, you know what? Oh my gosh, you guys, how did you let me do that? I forgot to put my magnets in. So I'm glad I caught that very quickly and that it didn't dry on us. So we need to put a magnet on the pocket and on the flap. That was too much blabbing. That's why. Okay, so you just want to come in far enough from the edge that when you put your designer paper down, your magnet's not exposed. And I think that'll do. Now I'm going to let this dry for a second before I try to place the other magnet. Or actually, that's not true. I'll go ahead and put my paper down, and then I'll place the magnet. And that way I don't have to worry about accidentally gluing something shut. I'm a little heavy-handed there. I'm making a mess today. I'm gonna have to go wash my hands again. Okay. All good. Okay, now I'm going to lay my magnet down here, and then we'll get some tape under it and attach it to the other side. There we go. All set. Okay, now this goes in here. Yeah, so this is the 8x8, 12x12, and then this is 12x12. So let's go ahead and do the inside and work our way out. And I've already inked everything. And again, we're going to put glue on this edge. We're going to leave about an inch exposed here so that we can slide it into the pocket for placement. Well, good grief. I forgot to take the tape backing off one side. There we go. Put the pocket down, it might make it easier. There we go. Now we'll try that one more time. Okay, there we go. That was a little bit of a challenge, but we're in. I'm gonna go ahead and burnish that down. Okay, now this is gonna go here. Let's just dry fit it real quick. What do I mean when I say dry fit? I'm just double checking to make sure it's gonna fit on the panel. It's not too big or not too small. It's pretty hard to do that once you get the glue on. I try to double check everything before I sit down with you guys, but sometimes I skip. So I cut it, dry fit it, ink it, and then come in and actually do the installation. So you don't see me doing a lot of the dry fitting, but take your time. It's not like I trim it and it always goes in. I'm always double checking. Measure many times, cut once, right? Actually, I cut many times, but you want to make sure you're doing all that checking before you get your glue on it. Okay. Doesn't that look lovely? I like this pattern right here. It's very pretty. It's like a tree. Okay, now the last piece is our cover. It's gonna go here. Okay, it's not really a cover, but it's the A side of the flap. Okay, everyone, a little extra glue there, that's in. Okay, let's pull in page 4 so we can look at these side by side. So there's page 4 and 5, and they both open away from the spine, and they both have these pockets that we're going to put some lovely little cards in, and probably I'm going to feature the cut aparts from the 8x8 collection and make some cards to put into these pockets. So that's page 4, page 5. Our spine would rest in the middle. And that's it for this video. When we get back, we'll start working on the next set of pages.